Yeah. I hope you're right.
Yes.
You gave me one.
Turn your mic
Turn your mic on.
Thank you. Call the Washington County Quorum Court Finance and Budget Committee Insurance Information Session tonight. We have Mr. Nelson Driver is going to tell us about our insurance. It's a self-insurance and the details. And so, Mr. Driver,
okay,
you're on.
Thank you. Well, to start with, I put a spreadsheet in front of you. You got 2 pages, and I just want to give you a little bit of history and background on the total insurance program for Washington County. If you can take a look, some of these I got back as far as 2014 as far as getting some premium history for you to show you how they've gradually increased over the years and what we're trying to do to stop it. The first column that we have up there says AAC Risk. That's the Association of Arkansas Counties. We are members of the county risk pool. We don't carry liability insurance per se. We have a risk fund that we participate in because we do have limited tort immunity, emphasis on limited. So a lot of, when we have lawsuits and these types of things, liability claims, we go to the risk pool for that instead of purchasing insurance. And Washington County was one of the founding county members of AAC and AAC's risk pool. And I'll go in a little bit of detail in a minute about some of the dividends that we get from doing that. The fleet coverage that you see in the first column, 2018's premium was $273,000 plus. That covers all of Washington County's vehicles and heavy equipment. We put the property out on bids every other year, and on opposing years we do the health and disability and dental. We put this out for bid, and so far nobody in the last 19 years has been able to come close to AAC in their premium for county vehicles. It basically boils down to about $100 per car. And you can't touch that anywhere else. And then the general liability out of the risk fund, that's our contribution level. And that contribution level fluctuates from year to year depending on the performance of the risk fund. That's one of the pros that you get out of that versus, quote, buying a straight liability insurance policy. The next column down is CNA. That is a notary bond and surety bond it's a blanket to cover all of the notary publics that we have with Washington County, and that's about $1,100 per year. That stays pretty consistent. Being a blanket bond means we don't have to name a person in a position to have coverage under this program. And guys, anytime if you got any questions I'll get going like a freight train sometimes, so don't hesitate to stop me and question me. So that's the blanket notary bond. The next one down, the third one, is fiduciary insurance. This fiduciary liability basically covers our retirement program with Washington County employees. As members of the court and as elected officials to Washington County, which will include everybody, including judge and the other department heads, have a very, very strong fiduciary responsibility when it comes to managing the funds that affect the employees of this organization. And from a retirement standpoint, from APRS and other things that we do, this bond covers us for things like, it could be anything from embezzlement to just making a wrong decision that would adversely affect the values of those funds. And that's just pretty straightforward. If you'll move over to the right-hand side where it says health, Washington County in 2000 and prior to 2000 had a straight insurance program. We pay the premium, the employee pays their portion, the employee pays a deductible and a copay. And one would think that when you buy health insurance from a provider, Blue Cross Blue Shield or whoever, that once you pay the premium for that, you're through. Well, with insurance companies, with group health insurance, especially the size of the county, they will review that on a monthly basis. And if they have a bad risk year in the first quarter, you can expect up to a 25% premium increase starting the second quarter of the year. So your premium's not really fixed for 12 months at a time. That can be adjusted, and the insurance companies do have the right to do that. One of the things that we looked at back in 2000, we have a health fund, and we did an examination, not an audit. We did an examination of the health fund for Washington County in 2000 and found out that everything insurance-related was being funneled through that health fund. We've got a lot of voluntary insurance that the employees buy that they pay the full premium for, and it's collected out of their paychecks, and it goes into the health fund. It's kind of a pass-through account. When we got down to finish the examination of the fund, we found out with 600 plus employees and 1,000 insured lives with our health fund, we had about $400,000 in that fund to pay health claims. And that was it. You're half a claim away from insolvent in that standpoint. So Judge Hunton, the county judge at the time, made the decision that let's take a look at being just a fully self-funded program. And I don't know if you're familiar with self-funded or not. That's different from being self-insured. Self-funded means we pay for the claims out of the checkbook. If you're going to be self-insured totally, you've got some hoops you have to jump through, one of which is if you're going to be an insurance company, you're going to have to act like one, walk like one, fund like one, and it's a very, very expensive process. You're not really, you're questionable whether you're saving anything or not, especially in health insurance with the requirements that we have now under the Affordable Care Act. But this, of course, predates that. When we went to the self-funded approach, the quorum court very generously funded the first, in 2000, I think it was about the first, I think we added $1 million to the fund to bring it up to 1.4. With the self-funded program, we have claims management that we basically contract. We have an organization called Blue Advantage Administrators, which is a sub of Arkansas Blue Cross Blue Shield, and they're a third-party administrator. The third-party administrator brings all of the expertise to the table, and they charge a flat rate per claim, whether it's a $50 claim or a $500,000 claim. It's a flat rate. And what they do is they provide the claims management, they provide the claims payment, and they bill us, then we pay the bill. They also provide us with access to reinsurance. And reinsurance, for lack of a better term, is an insurance company that writes insurance for another insurance company. When we buy insurance, we're transferring the risk out of the contract, or out of the county's checkbook to the checkbook of the insurance company. Insurance companies do the exact same thing. They spread their risk through this process called reinsurance. As a county or as an individual or as a commercial company, we don't have direct access to the reinsurance marketplaces. They only deal with other insurance companies. So when we contracted Blue Advantage, we can take advantage of them being an insurance company, and we do have access to a company called IAT, which writes our excess of loss insurance. That's our stop the bleeding out of the checkbook level. And we have a couple of attachment points that I want to talk about first before we get into the health fund. We've got one access point that's on a per claim basis. We're going to pay the first $175,000 of any health claim that comes in. If it goes over $175,000, then it goes to the excess loss insurance company, IAT, and they pick up the payment from there. So that's one stop loss. We also, being the fact we've got about 1,100, what we've got, Watson, about 1,115 insured lives right now. That fluctuates, but over 1,000 insured lives. And if you multiply 1,000 insured lives times $175,000, it's more than our budget. So we have a secondary stop loss, which is called an annual aggregate, and that annual aggregate is at $1.85 million. So we've got two stops there before the county is going to be in trouble. In years past, and this started when we went self-funded, if I could ever get to a point where I could predict health claims, I'd have myself bronzed, I think, because you can't predict it. You got some prediction models out there, but they're not really very, very accurate. And so the county, the JPs always hate it when I come to these meetings because I'm usually asking for money. Justice Madison can echo that fact. J.P. Lundstrom used to tell me all the time, that I hate it when I see you walk in that door. How much do you want? We were basically trying to put Band-Aids on the health fund. The quorum court in 1 year put $1.5 million in two separate situations. The circuit clerk's office put in $1 million as a load in 1 year. And it was just we were, bringing money out of reserves or wherever and shifting it around to pay health claims with. And we fought, and we finally got what we hope is a good fix. And at the end of the year of 2016, moving into 2017, we made some pretty good changes to our health plan by manipulation of the deductibles that were paid by the employee and also the co-insurance on the prescription drugs and that type of deal. We got the county to increase their portion of the health fund payment that is a per budgeted position. It's not whether there's somebody in that seat or not. If it's budgeted, the county puts in approximately $466 a month per budgeted position. And then the employees, the second page, you've got a breakdown on what the employees kick into the system as well. And so far, we have grown from what we've tried to keep at least somewhere close to $2 million in this fund, because that does have an effect on what our excess insurance company takes a look at with our viability. Right now, as of today, at the bottom of the page, you'll see $2,980,824. That's the balance in the health fund today. It's been up as much this year already at the 3.1 level, but we had a large claim come in, as we do sometimes, and it just kind of waxes and wanes. But right now, we're in good shape. I'm not at a point where I need to recommend any changes to the county as far as, upping the premiums or anything else. We're in pretty good shape right now. We're in compliance with ADA as much as we can be, because I'm not real sure anybody knows what it means to be fully in compliance with ADA. But we're doing pretty well. If you look over since 2014 through 18, the county has put in $13.5 million into the health fund. The employee portion, $5.7 million. And that's a very significant expense. When we look at premiums, because usually Mr. Lundstrom would ask me, at what point does it not make sense to be self-funded? And my remark, not mean to be too blunt, is never. Because they're going to look at your losses from year to year. They're going to look at the amounts that we pay out from 1 year to the next, and they're going to look at that as the insurance company's break-even point. They're going to stack a minimum of 35 to 40% on top of whatever that claims is for their profit and for their administrative overhead expense. So last year, when we put this out, I had a couple of the companies give me some bids on a fully insured program. And the bids came, the lowest one came in at $5.2 million with no guarantee of premium. So that's, why we're self-funded. We have a lot more control over what we can do and what we don't want to do as far as our fund goes. We can manipulate things like, deductibles, co-pays, services that we're going to include or exclude from the program, depending on the affordability to the county. You've got a good plan that is really good for the employees of this county that are really not up to par when it comes to salary and income. We've got a significant number of employees of Washington County that are on public assistance or one side or another. And they're having to make decisions sometimes whether they're going to buy a loaf of bread or go to the doctor. And that's not a good situation to be in. This is a really, really good program, and I hesitate to guess at the percentage of employees at Washington County that are working here primarily because of this program. It's good. It's got a lot of benefit to it. We're in compliance. We're still under our grandfather clause with ADA, so we're in pretty good shape. Do y'all have any questions about any of that at this point. Yes, sir.
Yeah, on the workers' comp, the experience mod's going in the wrong direction.
Yes, sir.
What is going on?
Well, we're going to get to that in just a minute, if that's okay. Okay. Yes, ma'am.
I'm just curious, how many total employees does Washington County have?
I think we've got about 600 and, you mean budgeted positions?
Budgeted, insured?
Probably close to 650, I think.
Okay.
That's budgeted positions. You put money in whether there's anybody hired in that position or not. Okay?
I see. Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you.
you're welcome. Okay,
Did you have a question?
I had several things.
Oh, okay.
okay.
Down below the health terms.
Butch, did you do that? The Bill Advantage administrators, this is how much we've paid them for their third-party administrative services. That we put that out for bids every other year. And then the IAT excess of loss is the premium that we pay for our stop loss. Now, right below that, right below where you see IAT excess loss, that very bottom line that says refund, that is the year, a couple of years that we breached the limit. And we received a check back from IAT for $165,000. And that was on audit. So there is accountability here. Workers' comp. If you'll take a look, our workers' comp is through AAC as well. It's a self-funded program through AAC. Once again, it's the same thing with, you run into it with health considerations and benefits, is if you're a municipality and you've got law enforcement officers, insurance companies run from you. It's just as simple as that. And workers' comp is no different. We have put this out to bids periodically for the last 15 years, and nobody's been able, excuse me, to come close to what AAC charges us for comp. Now, the experience mod that you see over in that column in the middle of the page starts off at 0.78. Your experience modifier is nothing more than a multiplier. What it is NCCI, which is the National Council of Compensation Insurers, are the ones that write the classification codes for employment and the job description that goes along with that classification. According to the risk of that position, they put a price per $100 of payroll per year. So that's what it's based on, is payroll. Your experience modifier starts at a 1. And that means if you multiply your book or gross premium by 1, that's what you pay. At a 0.78, you're getting a 32%, or excuse me, a 22% credit off your workers' comp premium. That's good. You want your modifier to be below a 1.0, always. We have been trending up for the last several years. 2017, we got back up to 1.0, 2018 to 1.33, and that's just a multiplier that means that we're paying 133% of what the base premium is. And this last one is at 1.43. So yes, sir, it is trending in the wrong direction. One of the things that we look at, when they adjust that experience modifier, that is based on frequency and severity issues. Frequency being the number of claims filed, whether there's a medical bill with it or not. We're under state law that says if you have a workers' compensable injury, whether it's got a bill with it or not, you're required to report it to the State Workers' Comp Commission. And every time you turn in that first report of injury, that's 1. That's a frequency. Now, our frequency is pretty high. Also, we've got severity issues. I'm going to say probably 95% at least of our workers' compensation claims comes from law enforcement side and from the road department. The road department, I know, is constantly undergoing safety training as far as something that we take for granted, like getting in and out of a dump truck. 3 points of contact, never one, whether it's a grader, tractor, or whatever. So there's safety training that does go on. A lot of the sheriff's department's claims are from fights. Getting into it with prisoners and slip and falls, getting hurt, pushed into doorways, falling down stairs, and this type of thing. I know Sheriff Helder has gone to great lengths over the years to make sure that all the employees, the detention officers and law enforcement officers have, the correct footwear, depending on the floor surfaces that they're going to be dealing on, and, all of those different issues that we constantly fight. But in the last couple of years, we've had a lot of claims, and they've been expensive. And I don't know if that answers your questions or not.
Well, the begs the question, do the road department, do the sheriff department, do we know where this is caused? Because we're running at 43% above the average for comp claims.
And we look at those claims on a monthly basis. The insurance company, AAC, provides us with a report.
Okay.
And, go ahead, sir.
Well, I've been in the construction business for over 50 years. I understand. I would be alarmed if my mod was 1.43. I'd be questioning a whole bunch of things.
Yes, sir. There's no doubt about that. Yes, sir.
And I mean, just to echo JP Johnson, I mean, that's doubled in the last 4 years. I mean,
Yes, it has.
That seems kind of extraordinary when I'm looking at just these numbers that jump off our page here.
Well, one of the things that may help with, with the information on this is that experience modifier is built on a 3-year rolling loss history. So the claims that we had, the frequency and the severity issues, the dollar value, and the number of claims that we had in 2018 are going to affect that modifier 19, 20, and 21, and then they'll roll off. So a bad year is going to hurt you for 3 years. A good year is going to help you for 3 years.
Nelson,
Butch?
Yes.
did we not have a serious shooting or something in the sheriff's department that shot this up on this?
Yeah, that was one of our officers got shot.
One of our officers got shot, and that was reflected
Yeah.
in your 1.33 there. That's
Yes.
when that jumped so much on us.
Very, very serious injury.
That's,
And that was in 2016?
2016.
And then it jumped the next year.
And it's going to hurt us for 3 years on that, so.
That's what I had a comment instead of a question. One thing that hopefully we'll never see in the construction part of the outfit is gunshots. And we've had one individual that's, he's back on his feet, but he's never gonna be quite the same as what he was, but he's a very good man. That's what I was going to point out, why that's so high at this time, and we're going to have problems ever getting away with that if we're going to be in the law enforcement business. Thank you.
Okay, J.P. Johnson?
yeah, I understand that, but frequency is going to affect that modification way more than severity.
Yeah,
So
at least equally, yes.
And I understand, I don't want anybody to get shot, but one gunshot is not going to affect that modification as much as the frequency of the accidents we're having and reporting.
I would agree with that. Some of the reports that we have to send in, when we first started looking at this back in 2000, I opened up the workers' compensation file, and there's a stack of first report of injuries about 1 inch thick that had been filled out and signed, but they'd never been sent in. Because at that particular point in time, the person at AAC that was managing the workers' comp program told the county HR person, if there's no medical bill, if they didn't go to the doctor, don't send it in. And when I got up off the floor, I bundled those up and went to the county judge, and we mailed them into AAC and said, now you deal with it. Because they were so far behind that they were very much in danger of being sanctioned by the Workers' Comp Commission for failure to report. So that's one of the things that we do report. In addition to that, when we have somebody with a workers' comp suspected injury, they are required to go to AOHC, which is an occupational health clinic in Springdale. It's county policy for them to go and be examined to make sure, A, it is a serious injury, and B, yeah, that's workers' comp, or no, you fell out of your tree stand. kind of stuff. But that's what we deal with.
Okay, J.P. Lemming?
This, the fleet insurance, is that means all of our equipment is basically liability insured?
Well, it's liability on the insurance, on the vehicles, but it's liability for the county as well.
General liability?
Yes.
But like all their new dump trucks and their new graders and all that is just liability, so if one burns, we buy it?
No. You've got full coverage on those.
Okay.
But you've got a $5,000 deductible.
Okay. Thank you.
We're required, under the graders, I think that,
That's a lease agreement.
yes, and we're required to insure those for full coverage. And on our fleet, the same, the newer models and things, we're going to keep, pretty much full coverage on. The deductibles are ridiculously low. But at $100 per vehicle, I'm not going to,
No, I'm just, that's what I
Yeah.
was just verifying.
yes.
Well, we have a lot of information here, and I think that, we can take this home and study it and kind of digest it, and then I think, you'll be around
Yes.
later and you can come back and answer more questions that some of us may have. Are there any other questions? Butch? J.P. Pond, excuse me.
You can call me Butch. That's what they're gonna call me when I get to heaven.
Oh, it is, okay.
I'm going to
Do
be
we
quiet.
have some, do we have some kind of insurance on our buildings and that sort of
Yes.
thing?
Yeah, we've got, the insurance on the building is with Brown and Brown. They're an independent agency out of Springdale that has been servicing our property side for the last 6 or 7 years. And basically, we took a look at the building, and the building and the contents, well, all of our buildings and contents for the county had not been updated in probably at least a decade and a half. And I told former Judge Hunton, just from my risk background, you've got enough insurance on the main courthouse here to rebuild 3 floors if it goes to the ground. And so the first round, that's really what precipitated the court saying, okay, we're putting this stuff out for bids every other year. We put it out for bids, and one of the bid requirements that went out in the RFP was anyone that was going to quote the building and contents on all of the county's buildings is required to do a comprehensive square footage replacement cost. Because from a risk standpoint, I don't really care what this building might sell for. What I do care is what it's going to cost me to rebuild it if it goes to the ground. And it came out, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I don't have those numbers in front of me, but the value of the main courthouse itself was undervalued by about $10 million. And contents, nobody had a clue. We had some, situations where, okay, well, this is what we're going to report for contents, but proving it is a different story. Now, after a couple of years of work with a couple of students from the university, we've got a comprehensive listing of all the assets that Washington County owns. And purchasing, obviously, in the different departments, keep that up to date. If they have to discard something or whatever, change it out, it's reported and it's the inventory is adjusted. Going back to that fiduciary responsibility situation, Judge Wood is the one that's kind of on the hook for all this property along with you because he's the chief administrator. But proving that, if we had an insurance claim, they're not going to write you a check. You're going to have to prove your loss with any insurance, and we would not have been able to do that. But now we've got up-to-date records for that as well. Every second bid that we do on the property, we redo the square footage replacement cost because of inflationary pressures. And well, I'm preaching to the choir here, but that's one of the things that's required as far as that's concerned to make sure we got the proper coverages for things that we need. Everything down to the inventory at the sheriff's department as far as firearms or training materials or anything else, it's all included in that report.
Are there any other questions? We appreciate you
welcome.
coming in and presenting this tonight, and thank you, and I'm sure there'll be some questions in the future.
If you need to contact me or want to contact me at any time, just, send me an email or Watson's got my cell phone number, and don't hesitate to pick up the phone and call me. I'd rather you ask me a question than stew over it over the weekend and be mad Monday.
Well, this is information I think that each one of us needs to understand on this court to be able to make decisions later.
So next time I come in and ask y'all for $1 million,
we'll say no. Do we have any public comment?
I have a question.
Yes.
I'll go to the microphone.
Okay, and your name?
Sarah Moore, do I need to push something?
Yeah, the button. It'll turn red. Yep.
Okay. Washington County resident. I just had a question. I have a business background, sorry, so that's where my mind goes to. When we were talking about workers' comp, I can't turn around. I'm sorry. My mom told me respectfully to look at the person I'm talking to. That gentleman's behind me.
I'm listening.
Thank you. Somebody got in trouble for doing this, so I'm trying not to turn around. I just wondered if we had a comparable county that we talked to, that we looked at these numbers. I just wondered, I don't know, comparably Washington County to another county in Arkansas or a county like Missouri, that we could compare and see if our numbers are changing at a smaller or greater rate potentially.
Are you
Is
talking
that-
workers' comp?
Uh-huh.
Workers' comp, we're right there with our peer group. You know, we're
Okay.
compared against Benton County, Pulaski County, and Sebastian.
Okay, so they're seeing those same increases as well?
I don't know.
I guess that would be my question that I would wonder, knowing how this is affecting us, and that we're saying, you know, you made a great point, JP Johnson, about obviously it's additional frequency, just to understand if they're not having the additional frequency, what are they doing, what best practices potentially that we could take back to our county services to say, hey, maybe we should look into this.
Sure. I'll be happy to get that information.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Okay, JP Lemming.
I think we're going to see if we had a really, really good record keeping of everyone, which I know we do have. I'd say the younger generation is not like your older generation, and they're a little bit less. Yeah, and I think that's where you're going to see your numbers go up and down. I mean, the older guys is slower and safer, and the young guys are running 100, not being careful. And I think that's probably the reason that you're seeing a lot of different changes and a lot of that stuff. Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? Do I hear a motion to adjourn? Oh, wait a minute. Are there any other public comments? Okay. Yes.
Move the adjourn.
All right, second? Yes. We are adjourned. Thank you.